Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Indiana Basketball Weekly is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome my co-host, former 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, good, Mike. How you doing? Hey, I got a question for you. Okay, what's this former stuff? I am still a national champion. I'm still a member of the Hall of Fame. It's not former, all right? There's nothing former about it. Once you are forever.
Well, okay, whatever.
Okay, so
we'll go with it.
Let's get that squared away.
Okay, we'll do this then. From now on, we're going to interview the current 1981 national champion, Steve Risley.
Just national champion, Steve Risley, and member of the Hall of Fame.
Until you've bought your own ring, you're not really in the Hall of Fame. You got to have a ring. Do you get the ring yet?
I have not bought my Hall of Fame ring yet, so you've got me there.
How much did they charge for a Hall of Fame ring?
Oh God, you know what? I haven't even looked at it. I don't know, but if I have to buy my own ring to get in the Hall of Fame, then it's not worth owning a ring to get in the Hall of Fame.
Well, if you want, maybe for Christmas next year, I'll make you one.
See if BookingBuddy.com wants to spring for a ring.
Yeah, since you never say their name right, they probably don't.
I don't know.
But hey, we're in a better mood tonight because Indiana comes out, breaks a losing streak, 65-43 win over Rutgers, now 13-12, and I think the big thing that we take away from this is for the last month, me and you have been right when we've said that they need to change up the lineup.
Exactly. I go back to the theory that everybody always speaks of: a rising tide raises all buoys. We saw a lot of good things happen tonight simply because of a mechanical lineup change. I thought McSwain and Green showed more confidence tonight than they did in the last game. They're playing with more confidence. They're making mistakes, as young kids would expect, but they recovered from mistakes quickly and came back and made contributions at the other end of the floor when they made mistakes. But they also made a lot of good plays. Now, that's number one. Number two is they transitioned to other players into elevating their game as well. I thought Robert Johnson had one of his more effective games this year. We took the ball out of his hands as a point guard, which you and I both agree he probably truly is really a two guard. He is a great scorer. But if you just leave that device to him and say, Robert, just go out and score, and don't worry about handling the ball for us, and don't worry about trying to control everything. We still need you to be a spiritual leader, but you can do that from the two position. I thought he had one of his better games. I thought he took better measured shots. He was more effective. He scored well. And I thought he actually hustled and played some of the best defense, committed defense. I want to say committed defense. I thought he was committed to making plays defensively. It's the best I'd seen. And you couple that with just the sheer effort and will that you get out of McRoberts every night. And then, thank God Morgan shows up more times than he doesn't show up and gives us the solidity that we need inside. It makes for what's an entertaining game, for what I think is a good, better basketball product on the floor. And still to this day, I still think one of the top half Big Ten teams in the league right now. I still think Indiana is still above the 50% break in the team in the Big Ten and below.
Well, and this, Steve, the thing that impressed me is both of these teams were coming off close, tight losses to top five teams. Rutgers got to stay at home. Indiana had to go to Rutgers with 1 day's rest. And the thing that impressed me was the energy the starters came out with, but also the energy they got from Hartman, Smith, Moore, and Durham off of the bench. None of them really contributed a lot of points, but they really upped the energy when they came into the game, and that's what a great bench player does.
Well, and that's what I attribute to McSwain and to Devontae. They raised everybody's energy level to a higher degree, which allows Coach Miller to get more players involved into the program. These kids come in, they're in a better mood when they come into the game. They're not coming in trying to save the world. They're coming in to make contributions, and everybody's having more fun. And basketball is a game it's a lot easier to play when you're having fun playing it. So I think that's a great observation on your part. But I'm attributing a lot of it right now is to Coach Miller for making the changes and for Devontae and for Freddie to step it up and earning their spot. And now you've got three players now have come into the rotation since midseason. and really change the way this basketball team perceives itself and how we perceive them. I think this is a team, to this day, I still believe it's a team that belongs in the tournament. Whether they get in the tournament or not, it is doubtful, remains to be seen, but I think they belong in the tournament.
Yeah, and I think when all's said and done, they keep improving. They've got a shot in the Big Ten tournament. And as we talked about before, I mean, you've got 5 winnable games coming up. Ohio State is a good team, but they're not a world beater, and they're coming here. Just from watching Indiana against Michigan State and against Purdue, 2 teams that I think are infinitely better than Ohio State, I don't see the reason why, if they can keep the energy, that they could win out and maybe be 18-12 headed into the Big Ten tournament.
Well, it is a must that they have to win out. At this point, for them to have any showing, they've got to get above 500 in the league player. They're next automatically. I mean, unless they win the tournament at that point in time. I don't think there's the NCAA doesn't take teams that don't finish at least 500 in their tournament. So that's a must. But you're right. I know I want you to comment on this too, because the schedule is winnable. We play the next 2 games at home now against weaker opponents. One team we did beat, one team we should have beat, and then we go to Iowa, which I think we can beat Iowa. And now the game that you say is the largest game left on the schedule, more so than even Ohio State. And comment on this a little bit, is Nebraska. And tell us why you think that.
Number one, Nebraska's 17-8 right now, so I think they're already a bubble team, Big Ten-wise. The other thing about Nebraska is they're not a team that is normally anywhere near the NCAA tournament. So I think what you're going to get by then is you're going to have a Nebraska team that's firmly on the bubble, that's probably in a 20-10 range record-wise. So you're going to go there on a Saturday night in what is a huge game for them. And I know Indiana is not the same Indiana as it used to be, but going into a situation like that, I think Nebraska is going to be a handful. And when you look at Nebraska, they've played recently like a tournament team. I mean, they've been on a run. It hadn't been like Indiana where it's kind of hit and miss, and sometimes you look good, sometimes you don't. If you look at Nebraska, their last few games, they blew out Rutgers, Wisconsin, Nebraska, which is no big deal. But you look, they had a 4-point loss at Ohio State. They beat Michigan by 20 points at home. And when you look at them at home, they're a completely different team. And they blow people out at home. And it's not that they're world beaters, but, I mean, this is a team that I think just because of the circumstances, I mean, this could be kind of like a bubble game in the tournament. You've got to go play at Nebraska for it. And I really think, when all's said and done, I think Indiana takes care of Ohio State at the end of the season. I'm more worried about the Nebraska game than I am the Ohio State game.
And you make a valid argument for that, and I see your point. So let me start off by saying, so what you're telling me is, this being a Saturday night game, that all of the tractor repair shops in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is chock full of fun things to do, are going to shut down, and we should expect the entire community of Lincoln, Nebraska out to watch Nebraska play Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, if they've got a shot at the tournament, and see, the thing that's scary to me is our downfall hasn't been inside. It's been our guard play. And they got a guy by the name of James Palmer and another one named Glenn Watson, who, as an example, against Nebraska in their last game, Palmer scores 28, Watson scores 15. So they're a team that can control the game from the backcourt. And, of course, if we're not playing well, that's usually where our breakdown is. Inside, they've got Isaac Copeland, who's a solid forward, but he's nothing like what we've got inside. So I think winning out has a lot to do with Devontae Green, Robert Johnson, and then if you could ever get anything from Newkirk. But the problem with Newkirk is usually when somebody's in a streak like this, they'll have a game, they snap out of it, and they're fine, but this has lasted all year. So the Nebraska game's winnable as long as Devontae Green and Robert Johnson can go on the road in a big situation and get the win. That's the other reason I think this is a tough game to get, because Green's young and Johnson has had a penchant for when things get tight to maybe not always make the greatest decisions.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying. I just finally got the stat sheet. So I'm just kind of looking over it real quickly. And here's the things I take away from it that play right into what you said. Newkirk's pretty well just written himself off. He gets 15 minutes tonight. 0 for 4 shooting, 0 for 2 3-pointer, 1 for 2 free. He basically now he's been replaced for all intent and purposes. And he's the kind of player now, what you hope best to get out of him is he comes in and has his senior moment in one of these games left where we have to have a win, and our senior comes in and has that one life-ending, career-altering game.
And he's capable of doing it. I mean, I don't think it's been a lack of effort with Newkirk. I just think everything's went wrong.
Everything's gone wrong for him, and he's probably beat up himself. He's probably beat himself up enough, and now you see some other players coming in and getting his minutes. I know from that happening to me to some degree at points in my career, you feel like it's just you against the world, and you're just looking for the end to come.
Yeah, and then you start to press, and makes everything 10 times worse.
Right. The problem with him is it's so late in his career right now, so late in the season, that, theoretically our season could be over in 6 games. So whether he has time to recover from that or not. But what impresses me the most now is for the first time that I can remember, we put 11 kids on the stat sheet, okay? 11 kids saw action. And we had one kid, Johnny Jaeger, play 1 minute, got in for the game for a minute. And
I think you can legitimately say if this was a close game, he would have played 10 of those guys.
Right. Yeah, 10 of the guys would have played. Tell me another time we've done that in this year that I can remember seeing 10 legitimate guys get double-digit minutes in the game.
Now, and see, this is the thing, Steve. This is something I think that could really help them if they keep playing 10, because most teams in this league are playing 6 to 8. And if you keep playing 10, you get fresh bodies, you might be able to get some wins against an Ohio State or a Nebraska team that's tired at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And when you get into the tournament, I mean, you got Colin Hartman, Justin Smith, Clifton Moore, guys like this that could come in and give you big minutes against the tired teams. And I think it makes sense to do this, and they should have been doing it sooner.
Oh, right, especially with the makeup of this team. But anyway, I don't tend to have hindsight. I don't tend to look what's behind me. What's behind me making no difference. What's in front of me is what I got to play. But here's what I like, okay? And again, I believe games are won not because of what's on a stat sheet. You can learn some things off a stat sheet. You can equate some things off a stat sheet, but games are won because of chemistry that you build in a team. This team has found some chemistry all of a sudden. If Coach Miller keeps, tweaking his chemistry to a little bit instead of just sitting with the old chemistry that really just wasn't gelling at all, this chemistry is starting to gel. But here, let me show you. We're always talking about Robert Johnson, right? Johnson tonight goes 7 for 13. When's the last time we saw him shoot over 50% and score 20 points in a game that we can remember? Okay, he shoots over 50%, 3 for 6 from the three-point line. Free throws 2 for 6, but that's unusual for him. And he comes up with only 3 turnovers and makes 2 assists, scores 19 points, and plays what we think is one of his better games. Just by getting him somebody out there to take some of the responsibility away from him, which we've been asking for all year long. So I really think if you look at the stat sheets, we shoot 43% from the field goals. We shoot 45% from 3 points, which is probably the best we've shot in 3-point land as far as I can remember back. But again, that this is what's just going to kill us. I tell you, Mike, it's going to kill us at some point. 44% free throws.
Yeah, 8 for 18.
I mean, we just cannot win in college basketball.
And the scary thing with that, Steve, is this: that 8 for 18 included Freddie McSwain somehow being 4 for 4.
Yeah. Oh, you're kidding, was he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. How about that? McSwain, and like I said, Johnson 2 for 6. That's unusual for him.
I guess they just kind of switched positions there.
We out-rebounded the team again, and we held our defense. And I want to talk a little bit about our defense. I thought our defense was more upbeat. I thought we contested more shots from all over the court. We did, 24% shooting for them. Granted, we don't think they're a very good offensive team, but still, you have to give yourself credit for altering their shots, altering them from doing different things. 26% from the free throw line or from the 3-point line, and only 54% for them from the foul line. Giving them 24 free throw attempts, so they make 13 of 24. In the paint, let's see what we got. Second half points, off turnovers, 17 points off turnovers we score. We're hustling. We're taking advantage of opportunities, mistakes we made. And I don't want to harp anymore on stat sheets because I'm not a big fan of stat sheets. I'm a big fan of having what heart you've got in the game, what chemistry you've got, what kind of character you put on the floor. Right now, this team has as much character and heart as I've seen in a long, long time, except for a couple of big games we played early in the year. But this is a team that I think if we didn't start, aren't starting too late, can be one of the better teams in the Big Ten for the last 5 or 6 games. And we have to make impact in the tournament to get the attention of the selection committee.
Yeah, and the thing is this, Steve, what you just said couldn't be more true. And defensively, I think you saw the defense better tonight because of the offense, because they make those threes early, they get more confidence, and then all of a sudden, it's exciting to play defense because you're hitting your shots. And I think the two kind of go hand in hand, especially with a team that has a hard time shooting the ball, because when those shots start to fall, that's when you see your confidence rise and you battle harder.
Well, that's exactly right. Along with being a player, having been a player and even coached to the AAU level, when you're scoring and playing well, you're having more fun.
Yeah.
When you're having more fun, you want to go play defense because that gets fun too. And the game becomes more fun. The game gets much easier to play. And right now, offensively, Indiana did a lot of great things. I thought we got people in the right position. And I'll tell you what, Devontae Green did not look like he was out of water tonight.
No, and I'll tell you, ever since that happened,
he looked like a young freshman or sophomore kid.
Yeah, ever
playing
since
point guard for Indiana with mistakes to learn.
Yeah,
but ability beyond his desire to make mistakes. He's going to make more good things happen the rest of the season than he does bad things if Coach Miller sticks with him.
Well,
I think he'd be foolish not to. Right
I think he will. I mean, he benched him after he made the huge mistake against Illinois. But the thing is this: instead of putting his head down, instead of putting his head down, I mean, the kid has actually responded to that. So I will give Archie Miller this credit. I would have brought him back right away and started him, but I'd imagine Archie Miller can read this kid better than we can. And I think in the long run, whatever he saw in that kid, he pushed the right buttons in this case.
Right.
And I think Devontae Green's going to be a hell of a player for the rest of the time he's here. Not saying he won't come out and play terrible Friday, but I think overall he's going to turn out to be a hell of a player. And the thing is really disappoints me about Indiana fans. You go on social media after the Illinois game, and everybody's trashing him. I mean, there was guys saying they should take his scholarship away from him.
No.
I mean, but those are basically fans that know nothing.
Right, which is most of the fans, and I'm going to get some nice responses from that and see what Joe from Newcastle has to say about that one. But I think you're going to see him emerge as a star player for the basketball team from here on out. I just think you're going to see his confidence grow game by game, and see more great things happen, and him start to take a leadership role in his basketball team, which is what we needed to see all along. Is he going to be an Isaiah Thomas or Steve Alford or a Keith Smart or a Quinn Buckner? Hell no. He's not going to be at that level at this point, but he sorely is going to replace something we've been lacking. That's just any kind of leadership out there to any degree at all. So I like what he did. I wish that, and it says a lot about Green's character in a sense that he came back the way he did. You touched on that, and you're exactly right. He could have easily folded when he got, made a great play all except completing the pass, made the right decision, the right penetration, just didn't complete the pass. And again, I go back, we should have never been in the position that pass was that important to us. That wasn't on his shoulders. But comes back from the next opportunity he gets and really capitalizes on it tremendously. McSwain, I want to throw a shout out to McSwain. The kid just plays hard basketball. He looks to me like he's having more fun out there and playing harder than anybody.
Yeah, and he's the perfect example of a kid that doesn't have to score points to make a huge impact on the game.
No, he doesn't. No, he does not. And Zach continues to do what he does best, and that's be a catalyst in disrupting things, offensively and defensively. He just dove. I saw another one. He got a call on a foul. He dove on a loose ball, dove after loose ball. He got called for a foul, but that's great. I'd pat him on the butt for that one. Hey, good effort. Way to get after it. We'll take the foul on that one because that's a good foul. That's a hustle foul, not a stupid foul.
Yeah.
And I just saw more hustle plays tonight out of Indiana, and I'm really upbeat about where we go from here. Again, we dug ourselves such a hole, whether we can do it or not. Like you said, winning out is paramount. I agree Nebraska is probably our biggest challenge. I think we'll handle Ohio State back here. I really do. I agree with you for all the reasons you stated. Nebraska is the one that I think really hinges on where if we make or break our season. And then we got young kids who haven't experienced the tournament, and sometimes that's a good thing. When you take young players into a thing like the Big Ten tournament, they're kind of just in awe of everything, and all they know is it's a lot of poise, and a lot of pageantry, and a lot of fun. And they go out and they just play. They're on a national stage. They're playing at Madison Square Garden. They're in the Big Apple. I don't think these kids are going to wilt. I don't think McRoberts, McSwain, and Devontae are going to wilt. And I know Juwan Morgan's not going to wilt. And I think if Robert Johnson finds his niche, I don't think he's going to wilt. And then you've got the other kids filling in, giving us the minutes we need. I like to see us. I hope we do keep 10 kids on the stat sheet. I hope we do that for the rest of the year. Even if it only means, kids get 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 minutes. That's okay. Those are vital minutes to give our starters the rest, give our guys a chance to regroup, get a drink of water, rub down an ailment or something they might have, or just talk to the coaches and rethink strategy. So it's a real good time for Indiana. Coming off the last game where I thought we showed a lot of this, just didn't get the win. And now we take that and we take a much weaker basketball team. Although, like you said, a team that has given other quality teams the fits. And we throttled them. Basically, we were never in jeopardy of losing that ballgame. I know the lead got cut down a little bit at the end of the second half, but we had most of our starters were sitting on the bench resting. And we were never really in jeopardy of losing that ballgame. So,
all right, Steve.
We got two good games at home now to play. Against two opponents we should win. We should pick up, get on a 3-game winning streak. And right now this team wants to focus on this: building confidence, building chemistry, defining roles, accepting roles, and refocusing on what goals that they have set for themselves as a team and individuals.
All right, Steve. I'm assuming we will be live Friday night after the game?
I got nothing better to do. I'm just in Los Angeles, California.
I know, and it's 85 degrees. Shut up about it, Steve. All right. Nobody wants to hear that that's living in Indiana. Don't want to hear it. I'm blocking you out. Make sure if you have any questions for Steve, you could go at Grueling Hoops on Twitter. Send any questions you want to Steve, or you can just put a funny meme on his Twitter page or something. If you want to get to me, you can go to at Grueling Truth. You also could go to the iTunes store and download the app for all the Grueling Truth shows. You can hear us on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, whatever. You can hear us a bunch of places. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.